The century began with the popularity of classical music. During the first decade, more things became popular, such as sheet music, player pianos, and ragtime music. During the 1890s, sheet music was really expensive, but they found easier and cheaper ways to print the music, therefore the price went down and a lot more people started buying it. Of all the sheet music sold, ragtime music song Maple Leaf Rag by Scott Joplin was the best seller, thus the start of the ragtime music coming into popularity. Other music was popular at the time as well, like jazz. During the first decade, New Orleans became the capital of jazz, in big part of Buddy Bolden. One other major occurrence of this decade was recording music. The recording horn was used in an acoustic process of recording music. During the next decade, the 1910s, blues got brought forward with a big hit by W.C. Handley called St. Louis Blues. Although the blues music was just starting, the jazz music was spreading throughout the country, especially into cities such as Chicago and New York. In 1917 was when the first jazz song was recorded. Music was a big thing in the 1920s. To start with, radio stations were becoming more popular. The first radio station in the South was WSB Atlanta. Fiddlin' John Carson was one of the first music performers to modulate the airwaves. Cow Cow Davenport, who was a boogie-woogie pianist, became popular. In the 20s, Blind Lemon Jefferson recorded over 80 blues tunes. Jimmy Roger, known as the father of country music, reportedly sold over 20 million records in his 6-year career. Recording became easier with the electronics now used. Music was an overall fun thing during the 1920s. People relaxed and listened, but also loved dancing to it. Johnny Mercer was known as Georgia's undisputed premier musician of all time. T-Bone Walker was one of the first people to play his guitar in public. By 1939, 235,000 jukeboxes were in operation and were said to be responsible for the sale of 13 million records a year. In the 1940s, FM radio as we know it began. Glenn Miller was given the first gold record for his million-selling hit, Chattanooga Choo Choo. The award wasn't revived until 1958 for Perry Como's single, Catch a Falling Star. First album award was the cast for the musical Nashville was beginning to emerge as a center for country recording. Chet Atkins played a major role in the development of Nashville music industry. On June 11, 1949, Hank Williams made his debut on Grand Ole Opry. He was said to be one of the most memorable in the Opry's history. In the 1950s, R&B music, as well as pop music, became popular. Muddy Waters Ensemble, one of the greatest collection of electronic blues recordings ever made. One of the greatest pioneers of rock and roll in the 1950s was Little Richard from Macon, Georgia. In 1955, Mae Axton wrote the song Heartbreak Hotel. This was Elvis's first #1 hit.
Well, since my head baby left me, well, I found a new place.
Jimmy Reed was one of the most influential bluesmen of the post-World War II. Reed sold more records in 1950s and early 1960s than any other blues artist except B.B. King. In 1956, Elvis Presley established himself as the icon of rock and roll. In 1957, Johnny Cash established himself as a major country singer. As you have heard, music over the years has been very influential. I mean, what's life without music?
But it is a lonely place, so lonely.